In the last episode, we did discuss about view. Today, let's discuss about the controller. Controller is the main character in the MVC, and this is the intermediary between the view and the model. So let's have a look in the home view controller and how it manages the view and the model. Here we have a view instance of a home view, and here we have a model instance, which is home API service. It comes from the model. Here is the home API service. And we have cancelable, which is required for combine, and a data flag. It takes a flag if data has been loaded or not. And in the initializer, we are injecting a home API service, and we are assigning a value. And because we can fake it while testing, this is helpful if we inject it through the initializer. And home API service, we are assigning a default value, which is default home API service. If we have a look at it, this is default home API service, which conform to the protocol home API service, and it implements networking request for the home API. So this is that. And in the view controller, we only have a title for the navigation. And in the load view, we're actually assigning the view to the view of the view controller. Every view controller have a view, which is this view, and this is our home view custom view. So we have to assign it in the load view. If we have a look at the load view, it says that this is where subclasses should create their custom view hierarchy if they are not using a nib. So we are not using any nib or storyboard. We are using our custom view, and we are assigning our custom view here. Finally, we have a view did appear. In the view did appear, we have a couple of functions. First, call API. The call API fetches data using the home API service. In the home API service, we have a Pokemon list function. And Pokemon list function is any publisher. It returns a publisher, and it returns a Pokemon list model or an error. So this is the publisher, and for the publisher, we have a subscriber. We are subscribing through sync. So remember, we said earlier that in the model, it uses observer design pattern. So this is the example of that, which is implementing the observer design pattern. So after subscribing, if we receive a successful value, we will have a payload, and then we will use this payload. So we are using this payload result to assign Pokemon list in the home view. Remember, in the home view, we have some data. Using this data, we are populating the table view. Here we are populating the table view with the data. So after fetching from the internet, we are populating the data here with the help of contents of. What contents of does is add more data on top of the previous data. So say if we have 0 data in the first time, after calling we will have 20 data, and it will add 20 data. Next time it will add 20 more data, so it will become 40 data. So contents of actually add more data on top of the previous data. And after adding data, we will reload the table view and make the flag to true. So this is what calling API does. And then we are tracking the closer, fetch more data, and navigate. What fetch more data? It tracks the fetch more closer. And remember, in the home view, we had the fetch more data. In the parameter, we are not passing anything, and it's returning void. And if we see where we are using it, fetch more data, we are using it while we are in the last cell, and we want to call more data for pagination. We invoke this closer from here, and we are using it here. So it does not have any parameter. It just invoke the closer, and if we invoke the closer, we fetch more data by making the flag false again and call the API function again. So if we call the API function again, say there is already 20 data, it will call again and it will have 40 data. So that's how the offset works. If we see the actual function, in the query, you see we have a limit and the offset. The limit we have 20 is hard coded because every time it fetches only 20 data, new 20 data, and offset is responsible for which 20 data you want to fetch. This is what decide. So first time it is 0, offset is 0, second time it is 40, third time it is 60, and just incremental order like that. But every time it fetches only 20 new data. So this is what it does. And finally we have another function which is navigate. It tracks the on tap closer from the home view. Let's see in the home view from where we are invoking this closer. The on tap, we are closing it from did select row at index path. So if we select any row, from the home view, we are passing this closer with an URL, and from the view controller we are catching that URL and we are passing that URL in the detail view controller, and from that view controller from the home view controller we're pushing the detail view controller, just like that. This is responsible for that. So this is all about home view controller. And the detail view controller, let's have a look. In the detail view controller we need to pass a URL, because with this URL we fetch the detail of the particular Pokemon. And we have two model here. We have a detail view, which we have already seen previously, and we have two services. One is API service and one is storage service. The API service is responsible for the calling API with that URL for this detail view, and the storage service, this is responsible for storing and deleting data of the favorite icon. So let's see, in the load view we are loading view like the home view previously we discussed, and in the view did appear, calling the API and observe button tab, and hides bottom bar when pushed. This is responsible for, we have a tab bar here, but if we go to the detail view the tab bar is gone. This is responsible for that. And calling API, just like the home view, we are calling an API and updating the UI with the data, and if we get the data we also check if it is on favorite list or not. We check it from the core data. That's where the detail storage service comes from, the storage service. So it checks if it is in the favorite list or not. So if we check in the storage service provider we discussed in the model storage service, here it checks if it is favorite or not with the help of a storage provider. And finally we have observe on tab. This checks the detail view on tab closer, and on tab closer it passes data of type Pokemon detail model, and with the data we save or delete the data, and we do it with the help of a storage service. And what it does, save or delete data, and in the save or delete data, save or delete, if it checks if it is in the favorite list. If it is there it will delete it, if it is not there it will save it. So this is what it does, tracks the closer and save or delete with the help of a detail storage service, which is this storage service. So in this view controller we have both API service and storage service. And finally we have favorite view controller. This is much simpler than the detail view controller. We have only a storage service here. With the storage service we fetch all the data in the favorite view controller. So again we have a view and the model from the favorite storage service from model, and in the initializer we are passing the favorite storage service, and we are assigning it with a default value. And again rest of the things are quite similar to the other view controllers. You will have a If you just have a look, you will understand. It's very easy, but little bit different is we have a notification center here, and what it does, core data gives us this notification center as a default functionality from core data. We do not have to create it on our own, and what it does is it gives us a notification whenever there is a new save in the core data, actual saving, because before saving anything in the core data, it stays in the view context. So sometimes it could be saved, or sometimes for some reason it might not be saved. So this notification, it will give us notification only if it is 100% saved in the core data storage, whether if it is a save or delete or update, whatever. If it is finally saved, then it will give us a notification, and with this notification we can do some activity, like whenever there's a new save or delete, we'll just fetch the data so that we can get the most updated data. So whenever we delete it, it just gives us a notification and it's loading automatically. We don't have to do anything. And like if I save it here, it sends notification, and you will see we get the data here automatically. We do not have to do anything. And if we delete it here, again it will receive this notification, and here we are seeing the data is not there again. So this is what this notification does. This is the only difference with the other view controllers. So this is all about the view controllers. So in the MVC, in the view controller, we have a view and a model, and this is the intermediary between the view and the model. And it takes the strategy to show the data or manipulate the data. And this implements the strategy pattern as well. So this is all about the controllers.